You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Don't forget, I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. The Patriots and Jaguars. Hell of a game to watch, right? Especially in the fourth quarter, which is when it seems like that's about the right time to watch the New England Patriots play a game of football. Is in the fourth quarter, because they're either going to figure out a way to dominate their opponent, or somehow their opponent is going to figure out how to put enough pressure on Tom Brady in order to win football games. And in this case, for three quarters, the Jaguars were able to put pressure on Tom Brady and dominate the better part of that football game between running the ball, Bortles doing just enough to kind of put them in good field position, squandered a couple of opportunities. Once they crossed the 50-yard line, New England able to figure out a way to put pressure on them, get a sack or two on Blake Bortles, create negative plays, and that's how the game was won. And their perseverance on offense is second to none. And when I say second to none and their perseverance on offense, I mean Tom Brady. Everybody keeps talking about Bill Belichick and how do you outcoach Bill Belichick and all these things. And all I could think to myself is Tom Brady didn't have Julian Edelman. Tom Brady didn't have Ron Gronkowski in the second half of that game because he got hurt bad. I mean, it was a big blow on Ron Gronkowski, and I mean, he was done. And me and my buddy were talking about it because I was over at his house watching the game tonight, and we talked about the difference between our day in football and today's game in football. And in our day in football, it was you got your bell rung. That's what they called it. And, you just need to sit out for a little while. At the beginning of the second half, towards the middle of the third quarter, you're probably coming back into that game. And rightfully so, didn't happen. And it shouldn't happen in today's game. I know a lot of people talk about the difference, and these guys are all soft now, all this stuff. But the reality of it is keeping Gronkowski out was the right decision to make. The point that I'm making is this. The New England Patriots moved the football without their primary guys on the offensive side of the ball. And while I don't want to take anything away from Amendola, who made a phenomenal catch in the back of the end zone, by the way, and what was a great throw and catch connection between him and Tom Brady, obviously when you start to dissect this game, you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how dominant they were. The New England Patriots, you could give credit to Belichick and say he made adjustments in the second half, particularly on the defensive side of the football, that actually helped propel the Patriots to a victory, because obviously they were able to stop Jacksonville in the second half of that game. And then B, obviously, you have to talk about Tom Brady. The man is 40 years old. And the thing about it is, I've talked about this so many times. Do my hair here. There we go. Boom. I've talked about this so many times that how good he is beginning to escape us, because it's so publicized with us in the media that you're numb to it. You're numb to how actually good of a quarterback Tom Brady truly is. Listen, think about guys like Steve Young, John Elway, Randall Cunningham, Joe Montana, some of the others, Dan Marino even, right? Who Elway, Cunningham, Young, all had far superior athletic ability to Tom Brady. You think about Joe Montana and Dan Marino and how good they were in the pocket with their footwork, right? I mean, come on. Even the NFL Network didn't put John Elway in the top 10 greatest scrambling quarterbacks of all time, and they put in Dan Marino because they talked about what? his footwork in the pocket, which supersedes anything that Tom Brady's capable of, or apparently so. But then you watch Tom Brady and you go, how the hell does the man do this? But where does this come from? It comes from Tom Brady and the one thing that he has that separates him apart from anybody else. And it's the one thing that Michael Jordan had, John Elway had, John Montana had, LeBron James has, and a select few group of others, Bill Russell, and that is they absolutely hate to lose. Michael Jordan, in his book, wrote, it wasn't that I loved winning, is that I was hated losing. I hate losing. And that's the thing. Tom Brady is one of those guys, I think, that absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, hates losing a game of football, especially in big-time situations like what we saw today in the AFC Championship game. Everything was on the line. Look, everybody's talking about Jacksonville. They're the Cinderella team. They're in the playoffs. They've got this amazing defense. They're ranked number 3 in the NFL. Nobody's talking about New England and how good they were, only giving up 267 a game, second best in the NFL, only to the Buffalo Bills. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about anything other than Tom Brady. Is his hand really hurt? Nobody's talking about anything other than those things. They're not talking about the Patriots defense. They're not talking about the capabilities that they have on offense because of a guy like a Tom Brady, who in the worst moments, for some reason, turns them into defining moments, the best moments that you've ever seen in your entire life. Whether you love him or hate him, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play this game. Think about it. Think about it for just a moment. You know, here's the only real true comparison to John Elway and Tom Brady, or pardon me, to Tom Brady, is John Elway. Think about it. John Elway took teams that had no business being in playoff games that deep, let alone Super Bowls. Maybe even Donovan McNabb would be the only other legitimate comparison. And I can hear everybody now, oh, don't throw Donovan McNabb in the same category as those guys. Oh, but you can. Until Donovan McNabb had Terrell Owens, who the hell was he throwing to? Go ahead, I'll wait. You could talk about Deuce Staley. You could talk about that defense. You could do that with Tom Brady this year. Donovan McNabb faced Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, had plenty of time left at the end of that game, and instead was puking his guts out because he was too nervous, didn't understand the full magnitude of the situation, and if he did, it got to him. His nerves totally combusted, and they weren't able to put a drive together to win that game, right? Because that's what everybody's going to talk about since Philadelphia won, and we're going to get into that in my next segment. But that's what they're all going to talk about, right? The previous Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. What they're not going to talk about is how McNabb had no business being in the previous 3 NFC Championship games that he was in. He carried that team. Everybody talks about John Elway going to 5 Super Bowls, but the last 2 were the result of Terrell Davis and Rod Smith and what a great defense and all this other stuff. Nobody talks about the fact that he carried those teams on his back. And nobody talks about that with Tom Brady. Instead, they try to figure out ways to justify why he's so great and call it a team effort. And I'm not going to say it's not. It takes a village. It takes a team. I'm not going to say it doesn't. What I am going to tell you is this, is that Tom Brady, being in a locker room, gives those guys confidence. You see, if the New England Patriots had other quarterbacks, maybe the likes of a Case Keenum or a flash-in-the-pan rookie of the year or a one-hit wonder, or whatever you want to call it, whatever it would be, they may falter. Maybe like a Tim Tebow, for instance. But instead, when they have a guy like a Tom Brady, they think to themselves, you know, if we stay in this game, we could win. And we can win because we have Tom Brady. Kind of like a John Elway. Kind of like a Donovan McNabb. We got to stay in this game, and our quarterback will get the job done and get the ball down the field and figure out a way to put it in the end zone. That's the mark, guys. And the bar that they've set is up here. The bar that Tom Brady has set, the bar that any great coach has set, it's so insurmountable that we don't even realize how great that they are. Oh, well, Drew Brees is this and Drew Brees is that. And if only he had the team that Tom Brady does. What team? Without using Google, can you name 5 players on the New England Patriots right now? Most people will be able to go, well, there's Gronkowski out for the second half. Most people will go, well, of course, there's Tom Brady. Great. Most people to go, there's Julian Edelman. How many weeks have they gone without Julian Edelman? And by the way, what about the distraction that should have been Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator, going to the Indianapolis Colts as a head coach? Shouldn't that have been an obvious detraction? Shouldn't it? Shouldn't that have detracted the New England Patriots from playing great offense? From having decent play calling? What about not having a premier running back in the NFL? You think about the 1-2 combo right now that's in Philadelphia. Think about McKinnon and how good he was throughout all the regular season and how pretty good he was. Not great, but how pretty good he was against the New Orleans Saints. Think about the 1-2 combo that was in New Orleans. Think about that rookie Kamara in New Orleans who made waves. Adrian Peterson, by that notation, should have been able to take the Vikings, the Saints, or the Cardinals to heights unparalleled. It's Tom Brady, guys. Whether you want to believe it or not, he gives that locker room and those guys so much hope knowing that he is back there, even at age 40. How many quarterbacks in the NFL have played in a Super Bowl as a starter at the age of 40 other than Tom Brady? Go ahead. I'll wait. You can't name any because there are none. He is the alpha male. He's the difference. He's the game breaker, the game changer. He's the guy. That's all there is to it. You can allude to Belichick. You can allude to the scandals. You could talk about whatever you want to. But the bottom line here is Tom Brady is a winner. And I'm going to take a quote from a head coach, Bob Stoops, longtime coach at the University of Oklahoma. I'm not the biggest Bob Stoops fan in the world. But you know what he said? He said, you know, the thing about winning is people think it's easy, but it's not. End quote. If everybody could be a winner, then everybody would do it. But not everybody can do it. Tom Brady is a winner, guys. And he won again with the New England Patriots. And he's going to his 9th Super Bowl since 2001. Enough said. This is the Full Court Press. I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube at Drew Duncan. Coming up next, well, obviously we're going to discuss Philadelphia and their rout over the Minnesota Vikings. You know the deal. Don't you dare touch that dial. You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial.